the California Endowment, a partner for healthier communities.
Good evening, I'm Val Zavala.
And I'm Jess Marlowe. We begin tonight with the story of one woman's crusade to keep kids in school, and that's no easy chore, since most of the children you're about to meet either live on the streets or in local homeless shelters.
What chance do these youngsters have of ever getting a decent education? Well, better than you might think, thanks to something called School on Wheels. Tonight, Gaye tells us it all started after a local teacher left the classroom and hit the streets.
Even though she's 67, Agnes Stevens still works as hard as she did when she was a young elementary school teacher. She retired a dozen years ago. But Agnes knew she still wanted to help kids, specifically homeless children, and she's more than reached her goal. Today, the organization she founded in 1993, School on Wheels, has over 400 volunteers tutoring homeless kids in more than 50 shelters in Los Angeles and beyond.
I didn't set out and say, oh, we're going to have a program that's this big. It was one of those things that it just happened.
It all started after Agnes learned about a school in Venice with a big homeless population and began working there several days a week.
It was kind of overwhelming to me. So one night I was just thinking about it, and I thought, well, what could you do? You can't make it perfect, but what could you do to help these children? And so I kind of wrote in a little scrap paper, one-to-one tutoring would be good.
At first, she began tutoring with just 2 volunteers in a local park.
It took on a life of its own. I don't know how to explain that, but it just seemed like it was a meant-to-be thing, and people would come on, saying, yeah, I'd like to volunteer, I'd like to help in this way.
Today, besides the work School on Wheels does in shelters, it has its own storefront in the heart of downtown LA's Skid Row. Kids who live in nearby shelters can come here after school.
The thing that I like the most about coming over here is that I get to do my homework, and if I need help with my homework, the tutors help us, and they also give me a backpack and get me enrolled in school.
Many homeless children end up far from their old neighborhoods and schools, and it's not unusual for them to be out of class for days or even months at a time.
Most of the time, there's gaps in their education, and that makes it very hard for them because most of them are already behind anyways because of all the transitions, so having to start over again is very difficult.
Once a School on Wheels volunteer, Denise Martinez now runs the downtown facility. Since September, she's helped 150 kids with their school enrollments. And she's set up ties with LA Unified Attendance Counselor Deirdre Skelton.
It is easy for the families to fall through the cracks because if they move out of the area, the kid is absent in school, and if no one knows where the family has been, then the child is just unknown.
Skelton says homeless kids are under a lot of stress.
It's isolation, shame, sometimes just a classroom assignment such as describe your room, and you don't have a room. It's instability, not having anything of your own, not having a place to put your stuff. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. And trying to make sure nobody else finds out because you don't want to be made fun of.
Many of the children who come here after school are staying with their mothers at the nearby Union Rescue Mission.
Living in a shelter is really hard, and you can't really tell kids, especially when you're in middle school, because they make fun of you or they spread rumors around, and you can't really tell nobody. But it's really difficult to be in a shelter.
Martinez echoes this 7th grader's words.
It's very, very difficult for the kids, and it's very chaotic. The ones especially that stay at the mission, they have to be up very early, so they're exhausted many times, when they come here.
And then there are things on the street that most other children never experience.
They see people that are, on the street dead. They see a lot of things that most children don't have to deal with aside from trying to keep up with their schoolwork.
School on Wheels can't make everything right for homeless children, but they know they can help kids stay focused on their schoolwork.
Working here, it's peaceful. I can have time, space. I like to do arts and crafts. I like to play with Denise.
This will be a good one for your book report, huh?
This is our future we're looking at here, and it's so easy to ignore them, you know, and they're a silent voice. And to get these kids and to get them through school, you know, and give these kids a chance is the most important thing that we can do.
Lloyd Lee would agree. He's a School on Wheels volunteer at the Union Rescue Mission.
I've worked with tutoring kids for about 10 years, but prior to this I only worked with suburban kids, and it's much different because kids in the suburbs, they're very privileged, and whether I tutor them or not, they're going to do well in school, or at least relatively okay in life, whereas these kids, they're kind of on the make or break level.
We look tired. We look tired. The tutors are very helpful. They're very supportive, and I think they do a very good job.
It takes so little to help a kid. It really takes so little that their whole confidence gets up and their happiness gets up when they have somebody working with them.
Homeless children are not just in shelters, but also in cheap downtown hotels. School on Wheels has volunteers to help them as well. Agnes Stevens says it can be hard for volunteers when they start to work with children only to see them disappear into an unknown future. But she's convinced they are not forgotten.
I remember in my life there were certain people that I didn't know that came along for a short time, or a stranger or someone that helped me. I might not remember their name or even the issue at the time, but I'll never forget that somebody was there for me.
Roger.
It's illegal for any California public school to turn away homeless children, but many parents claim it's a fairly common practice. They say principals ask for things they don't have, such as a permanent address or a phone number at work. Faced with those bureaucratic obstacles, we're told that many homeless parents simply stop trying and their children suffer for it.